If
Hey Roger, how's it going?
trying to work with the trunk team to get this POC put together, being more of a PIA, PITA. Yes. But I do think that once this is configured, it will be very, very good.
Sorry, what was that last statement?
I think once we have these merge queue things configured with trunk.io, that this will end up being really good.
Well, good. I'm hoping that hopefully we can make this merge queue do what we need it to do and we don't have to build a custom one right now. That would be the ideal outcome.
Yeah.
I mean, we may have to come back to it later and look at additional custom solutions, but at least it buys us a year or more before we have to trod down that path. I was happy to see their Slack integrated channel and that their team is actively supporting you, even though we're not yet a paying customer. So
Yeah, which is great. And they're just trying to help me get through this initial configuration.
yeah, it's been so those are the companies I like to support.
Yeah.
Like just like the Step Security guys, we've had a very close relationship with them, since day one. And they even before we bought the product line, they were doing the same thing all over, helping us get it all squared and figured out.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's really awesome.
so I'm definitely all for, pouring them a bone and supporting a company like that who's willing to go out of their way to even just earn our business. So I think that's definitely a good sign in how responsive they were to your needs.
And I was having trouble with GitHub yesterday finding a button. So, like I made that discussion on their product. And I was like, I don't think that this is working anymore. And then I found it, and they're like, "Hey, you figured it out. Good job." So they did. They marked my answer as the answer and everything. It's like great. I thought about destroying this discussion. I felt like an idiot, but yeah, it was fun.
Well, good. They seem to be engaged and very supportive on trying to help us get this sorted out. So that's the kind of vendor I want to work with.
Yeah, for sure. What's going on in Solo Land?
I don't know. I guess we're still a minute early. I would say we give other people a chance to join, but things are going. A lot of a lot of focus right now on user friendliness and one shot advanced and rapid fire support, basically in a nutshell. Some debt payback, some block node tweaking. They're just chugging along over there, getting her done. From a community engagement perspective, I feel like we have at least one outstanding community PR that's just kind of stalled, fizzled out, stalled, and I think that's partially due to just the community member not responding to questions and requests for changes raised. I'm not sure there's much we can really do differently there. You know what I mean? I'm looking to see, make sure we haven't failed to respond. Yeah, we haven't. Last response, Jeremy, was just asking to confirm that he saw the last set of comments, which was simply asking for a one-liner change to ensure we're using the correct version of Java that's required by the consensus node. And we haven't got any further responses from the author, you know. We did implement um, on Solo, we implemented the GitHub Actions bot for closing stale issues and pull requests. Right now, we only have it enabled for pull request. Um, Seems to work pretty well, and we felt the need to turn it on because we internally even have some PRs that are coming from ourselves that we're not actioning. So giving our people a nudge to fix them, you know, is the right approach, and then eventually closing them if they don't action them, you know. I think is the fair way to do it from a community perspective. Because otherwise we're just basically acting as our own, having an automated bot that has a set of rules that are clearly defined in the repo, you know, as a workflow that people can look at and reference and see what the policies are set to, just makes it fair and impartial, versus Jeremy and I trying to make that call on the fly. We don't want to be the bad guys policing everyone, including ourselves, we want to make the computer police us and everybody else equally and impartially.
Morning, everybody. Nathan Roger, I need to advise that be careful with new version of Warp because Warp start crashing every day after recent update. Just be
Yeah,
advised.
I don't like Cloudflare Warp, so I don't use it. But yeah, that's definitely something that's concerning if Warp is having issues. Some of our users do use Warp. I personally use Nord, but um, this Warp is questionable. Interestingly enough, I saw an article from the Nord that was an interview with the Nord VPN team because they got a lot of flack and people questioning them over their saying that they're obviously not a good product because they choose to advertise in certain venues, like on YouTube and everything. And that somehow means that they're a shady product. It's such a competitive community in the VPN space, you know. Nord does a lot of things very well. I wish Cloudflare Warp would do the same. There's a lot of features missing from Cloudflare Warp that's just status quo for every other legitimate VPN out there. But I know why we deploy.
How did you get Warp not to launch every time you start your computer?
Me,
Yeah.
the only time it launches now is when Kanji decides to do an update.
Mhm.
But um, if you go into the Warp client, there's a setting that says start on boot.
Mhm.
It's under you hit the little button. It's under the general tab, there's a launch on login at the very bottom. Checkbox.
Oh, look at that. That's useful.
Turn that off and it stops booting up when you restart your machine. Well, anyway, I think that we are going to be about all that's it for this community call. Alex, do you have anything for solo?
No, I'm totally happy in status quo and everything working good. Knock in the wood. Thank you for everybody's effort.
Yep. And Jeremy's not here today on this call. Usually he leads these calls. He had a family emergency, so he's going to be out of pocket for at least today, if not tomorrow. However, that doesn't mean that the team is doing any less amount of work because everybody, I spoke with them this morning and they all have lots of work on their plate and they're all moving it forward. So, Roger, we do have a couple of, you may hear from Jeffrey or Jean potentially.
Okay.
Regarding a couple of questions. Gosh, I'm trying to think about what I told them to go talk to you about. I know that I sent Jeffrey and Jean at Nana too, because they had some questions about Blocknode. I think there were some questions around how we use it in Sitter and impacts there for some of the changes they were looking at making for one shot advanced and one shot.
Mhm.
That they might have had questions for, I believe is what it was. Sorry. I was half asleep this morning when I took that initial call, so of the team. But I know that I told him to come talk to you for something, and that may have been what it was, because I know that they were talking about one-shot support. We've been seeing a rash of issues as well, and I think this is impacting our users. Our boot up time for one shot has jumped to the 6 to 8 minute mark, and this may actually be the other thing that they had mentioned that I maybe had said to bring up with you as well. And Jeffrey and I are both seeing this locally here stateside with decently quick connections. I'm on a 2 gigabit bidirectional 2 gigs each direction fiber line.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm here in Dallas, close to a two major peering points. So I typically have good latencies to Chicago and Research Triangle Park, as well as LAX and Phoenix data centers. But you'll have to forgive the lawnmower men. They're outside apparently mowing the yard today. But we've seen increasingly long wait times with pulling from GitHub based Docker OCI registries. And that's now pushing our one-shot setup time but beyond 6 to 8 minutes, which is just meh. Oh, I know what the other thing was. It was the request for TSC that's been approved, I believe, for the Homebrew Tap registry, the Homebrew Tools registry. Is that PR? I know I opened a PR to create the registry and assign permissions.
Mhm.
Are we good to merge that? Do we need to take a vote on the PR, or is the TSC vote sufficient?
I think the TSC vote was sufficient. Didn't we already open it?
I have the repo, the PR open. I opened it before the TSC met. I don't know that we merged it though.
I don't know. I thought we did. But I merged it as soon as we got the
Let me go look at governance again. I don't know if it was actually merged or not. That's a great question because I didn't think it was.
yeah,
You did.
looks like it has been.
Also, there is the other deal of, oh, yeah, do we, oh, I guess you delete,
Homebrew tools, yeah.
I guess you
We've got the
delete,
repo now.
I guess we manually delete the homebrew solo business.
Yes.
Okay.
Get rid of that. So I just put the link in the chat here.
Uh-huh. We may also need to, yeah, we need to change, we didn't actually change the settings on the repo. So I don't think the settings are set correctly because we allow rebase and merge commits.
Yeah, we have to go through and do all that stuff. But
Can you work with Jeffrey to get initial setup on the repo, including code ownership? Because
yes.
Jeffrey is currently blocked on this repo. 'Cause he wants, he's got an example tap file ready to go, but he can't test it till he gets the repo. And he's gonna need we need to establish the code ownership as we agreed on and everything. So if you can just work with Jeffrey to get him onboarded and get everything set
Mhm.
Appropriately on this repo, including rule sets and all the good jazz,
Mhm.
that would be much appreciated. So we
Okay, yeah,
want him because
I'm gonna do that.
that's a high priority ticket item for him that he's got on his laundry list. So the more we can do to free him up to continue that would be excellent.
Why didn't we add Jeffrey into the list of homebrew tools committers?
That's a great question on the other side of the fence. I don't think that, that wasn't in the original TLC proposal ticket.
Okay. Well, then I think we need to have a vote of the maintainers to add Jeffrey as the missed
I agree.
person.
I think we have enough maintainers to act that. So I think the current maintainer list, right, is
You, me, Andrew, and Jeremy, I think.
You,
Yeah.
me, Andrew, Jeremy, and I think
That's it.
Hendrick is a committer.
Yeah, he's a committer.
Yeah. So
So let me create a pull request in governance.
I mean, Jeremy will act it when he gets back.
But we don't. We can take care of it.
Yeah, I think between me, you, and Andrew, we have quorum.
Yeah. What is Jeffrey's username?
I think it's Jeffrey Tang. Hold on one second. I will confirm. I think it's Jeffrey Dallas, actually. Hold on. I'm confirming. We gotta find him in the team in the list here. I'm just gonna pull up the solo list itself.
Yeah, Jeffrey Dallas.
Jeffrey Dallas, yeah. Like I said, I had to get to the solo list in the teams because that's yeah, Jeffrey Dallas, capital J, capital D.
Right.
So yeah, we do that. We'll get that approved. But yeah, if you can just help him, because he'll need help setting up, you need to go in and set up the restrictions and the code committers and
Mhm.
code ownership and everything and rule sets and tweak the repo level settings. So I think that's the really only outstanding item that I had outside of just you giving him a guidance on some of the other things we discussed. So,
Mhm.
well, I don't think we're going to get any more community members or other internal folks on this call. So I think we can probably wrap it unless anybody else has something else. Well, I call for a vote to conclude this call.
Good idea.
And I guess, Roger, you're going to second it as well.
Yep.
All right.
Indeed.
Good. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk later.
Sure. Thank you. Bye.